Well, thank you for joining us once again. I hope that you did enjoy that segment. AMB is always brought to you by EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. And we do know that the subject of electoral violence or violence has been experienced during elections is a main concern. Well, during the registration period, we saw a number of incidents that got stakeholders talking and featured predominantly in mainstream media, social media as well. But following an incident over the last 24 hours, we also decided, look, we need to bring back that conversation again, prep our minds as to why we are in the season of campaigning and what the responsibility of the various political actors and then politically exposed persons need to be. But in that, we also have to recall a story that Joseph Akable, one of our lead correspondents right here at JoyNews, did on alleged brutalities on the Member of Parliament for the Ododo constituency. We'll bring you that story in a minute. And I'll also tell you what his concerns were, the narrations he gave us based on his experiences of the alleged brutality. Just take a watch.
All of a sudden, I saw these boys, numbered about 12, coming into the police station.
NDC MP Nilante Vanderpoel recounting the attack on him. His car is still parked in front of the Jamestown police station with the two back tires deflated. He alleges the men who attacked him were led by an individual he believes to be a national security operative.
The leader of the group is called Akpo, or One Face. He's a national security operative. Then his senior brother, Nyokai Amas, nicknamed Tenjin. Then there is Akofi, who is a boxer. Then there's Kola, who is a footballer. There is Nana. Nana is a nephew to Akpo and Nyokai Amas. Then there's Kudi. Then there's Chris, who also claimed to be a national security operative. And then others. But these are the front men, the people I really saw when I was being hit.
But you are an MP for the area,
yeah,
and you know these individuals. Why would you think they would attack you for nothing?
Well, they've been close with the MPP parliamentary candidate all this while. During the registration exercise, there were several instances where these boys were brandishing weapons, shooting discriminately, harassing people, intimidating people. In here,
this has left him in pain.
And also in my eye. You know, I've had problem with my eye in the past, so a little bit of pressure on my eye makes me a bit distant, and I'm also feeling pain in my chest where I was hit twice. But apart from that, within my spirit, I'm good.
But NPP parliamentary candidate Nilante Bannerman is disputing this narration. He says the individuals are not national security operative.
From what I gather, there are these boys who have converted from the NDC to MP. And I think they have scores to settle with the MP. That I'm not going to condone. And I've told them, if they have issues with him, they should find ways of settling it. He, as an MP, should also find ways of approaching these guys and settling whatever scores he has with them, so that these things will not be happening. This has nothing to do with NDC or MPP people clashing. No. It's purely an internal thing in the NDC that because of that, the people have even defected to the MPP.
So do you know these persons who assaulted Mr. Vanderpoel?
From the names that he alleged, I know them. If what he is saying is true, then I know the boys. Because he mentioned names, and I know the names he mentioned. And I'm telling you on authority, they are not security operatives, none of them. In fact, the only person in there who is a national security operative, he is only mentioning the person's name, but the person was not there.
The Jamestown police says it has commenced investigations into the matter.
Well, so we need to have these conversations. Is it, again, a reflection of how we are as a society, or is just part and parcel of us when it comes to each election period? Dr. Kwame Asasante is a senior lecturer with the University of Ghana Political Science Department, and also joining us, Adam Bonaa, security consultant, joining us as well, Sheikh Arimi Al-Shaibu, co-chair, the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers. Good morning to all of you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. I can hear you.
Great, great. Let me first start with you, Mr. Bonaa. What do you make of, let's say, the incident of the last 24 hours in relation to what may have transpired or has happened to the Member of Parliament for the Odododo constituency? And would you say, is it part of the concerns, the refrain that you as security people have been talking about that we need to observe during the period of elections?
Oh, yes. Good morning, and good morning to my co-panelist, Sheikh Armia, my brother, and the other panelists on the other side. And good morning to viewers. Well, Roland, some of us have been advocating for some form of dialogue to have started long before today. The Odododo area, sorry, my thing fell off. The Odododo area, in terms of elections violence, this is not the first time we are seeing it. And it might not be the last time we would see it. Some of us have asked that, we are one people, and Honorable Van der Foy, the last elections, there were issues here and there, assault and counter assaults. And since this particular assault, suspected or alleged assault of the Honorable Member of Parliament, Neil Van der Poel, my very good friend, I've received a lot of calls coming from indigents of the area, virtually threatening some of us and telling us that they know when these things happen, some of us would be the people who are called to speak to these issues. And so they are going to retaliate. And these are people I don't know from anywhere. Last night, I received a good number of calls, and then before then, I had received calls in the morning. And so mine is that someone would have to act quickly. And I am, I'm happy you have Sheikh on the other side of the line, especially he being, a clergy. He belongs to those we would have to fall on when issues are getting out of hand. Because then, whether you like it or not, the churches and the mosques are going to be open. People listen to people like him and the chief imam and, the Christian council and all that. I think that some form of dialogue would have to start if it hasn't started. And the security agencies would have to act. I listened to Honorable Neil Van der Poel, I think, on, this morning, and I think last night I listened to him talking, and you can see that he's in pain. And as to whether these people have been arrested, and if they haven't been arrested, then that will not be deterring enough, because then we have just about less than 100 days to the general elections, both parliamentary and presidential. If these things are not done, ensuring that people are punished when they take the laws into their own hands, then we are going to see probably an increase with regards to violence when we get to the polls. And that area, there are few things the police would have to do. But the security task force, places like that have always been in the news when it comes to elections and electoral violence. Let's put those places under siege. Let's ensure that we have heavy presence of the police, the, security task force, who would have to ensure that the place is properly protected. If not, I can say I'm not being a prophet of doom, but what I've heard from the people, some of them who have called me, means that they are preparing probably for a battle in that area, which for me is not the way we should go as a nation. It's just going to the polls and casting a ballot. So this would be my initial comment, Roland.
Now, Sheikh, we do know that for the things that need to be done by way of the preparations, there need to be some key identifiable variables or action that need to be taken. What ideally, let's say 97 days to a general election, should we have been doing, knowing that we have certain flashpoints, and even Odododo is just one of them? Sheikh Aremia Shaibu, this question is to you.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you and to all the viewers and my co-panelists. Really, it's unfortunate, and I think that a certain proactive position need to have been taken, knowing that there are certain places that have been identified as hotspots because of existing disputes or conflicts, which politicians could take advantage of to visit violence on political opponents. So Odududo, for example, is one of the very tensed areas approaching elections, especially even during the voter registration. You see how tension arose. And so that should have informed the security agencies within the area to begin to have put in place measures that will curtail or prevent the occurrence of incidents like this. It is very unfortunate that it has happened. Secondly, I think that we should also have initiated a certain, like my brother Bonaa said, dialogue between the major political parties that are dominant in the area, knowing that they are close in terms of dominance, and the competition, how fierce it is becoming, can slip into violence. And so involve them and make them accountable for any violent incident that happens in the area. That would have been very, very helpful. But Roland, let me quickly say that this is the political reflection of how inherently violent we are. Let us face it. Ghana is said to be a peaceful country, but our peace is fragile. It's not founded on rocks. It is built on sand. And that is why anytime there's something like this, the tendency or the risk is that we slip into violence as the election approaches. And we need to be given to do a lot of work, especially on the mindset of political actors, so that all political actors on the political divide must reject the mentality and the mindset of violence as a means of obtaining political power. It is important that we really get that. The preamble to the UNESCO Constitution, as I read somewhere, says that since war begins in the minds of men, it is in the mind of men that the defenses of peace must be constructed. And so, therefore, a certain long-term work needs to be done on the mindset of the ordinary Ghanaian, so that that inherent violence inside us can be transformed into more positive element that will promote our democracy. And I think on that score, we have not done so much. And this is a complete reflection of what we are seeing. And as the election approaches, we are now on tenterhooks. We just have to now be more active. Let the peaceful ones occupy the center stage and really name and shame anyone who engages in it. I expect the police to expedite their investigation and really bring to book, by way of prosecution, anyone who was found guilty. Two wrongs do not make a right. I disagree with any position that since some time ago somebody did some violence, then we must equate it by way of vengeance. Two wrongs never make a right, and anyone found culpable in this particular instance must be made to face the full rigors of the law.
This is just one instance. Dr. Asah-Asante, if you take the flashpoint that we know not only as stated or identified by the Electoral Commission, the security apparatus, and usually we have the police service also doing that as well, even CODEO, it means that we have identifiable areas for which we know things could be triggered. Usually, what should be the level of negotiation, if not collaboration, to ensure all politically exposed persons are coming from a certain background and so have a level playing field?
Yeah, good morning, Roland, and good morning to your viewers. This problem has been with us since time immemorial. If you go back to the history of politics in the 1950s and all that up to this time, you realize that this has been a major problem for Ghana. We have experienced electoral violence, and we continue to experience that. The inability of the state to deal with this issue head-on has brought us this far, and that is a worrying development, because you realize that more often than not, those who involve themselves in these things are, party activists, and they belong to one party or the other. And we have seen over the years that there are people from the main political parties. People in these groups who go on this type of, rampage are not brought to book because sometimes they have their partying power. Sometimes when they are even in opposition, you touch them, there's criticism from all corners of the country and all that. And we are saying that this is a major problem that we are facing. And remember, in matters of this nature, the police is in a fix because you touch somebody, hey, how are the authorities going to respond to this? Whether incumbent or opposition, how are they going to respond to these? So police have a very difficult task in this area. But I believe that irrespective of the task which appears to be daunting for them, I believe that the police have a way. These flashpoints have been identified over the years. So we believe that as part of their preparation towards election, we have three phases of election: the pre-election phase, the election phase, and the post-election phase. We believe that they are preparing themselves to ensure peaceful election in all the three phases. This is the pre-election phase. And now that we are seeing things of this nature, we hope and pray that it does not degenerate into other things that we don't want in the election phase and then post-election phase. So I agree with my colleagues who have said that the police must up their game and be able to deal with the perpetrators, bring them to book, and punish them. That is, if they are put before court, they are punished, and it serves as deterrent for people. And I believe strongly that most of this problem has come about as a result of the inability of the state to deal with the issue head on. That is the bottom line.
Mr. Bonaa, because you're a security person, straight away the question will be, well, we're ideally supposed to be having intelligence and surveillance being picked up from the ground. Is it that we're weak at it now?
Yes, we are weak at it. The truth is that we have somehow a very weak national security setup. And so if you're in a country where the national security setup is so weak, what happens is that you have hoodlums who parade, who move around in the name of, the foremost intelligence agency in the country, because the national security is supposed to be a collection of all the agencies put together under the umbrella of national security, who are supposed to be ensuring that when we sleep, we sleep. And so I am not surprised. We see some of these dastardly acts usually perpetuated in the name of national security, because according to the Honorable Member of Parliament who was assaulted, he is alleging that these young people who assaulted him, beat him up, said they work for national security. He knows them. And so national security has not come out to deny or to say otherwise, that yes, they are from our outfit or they are not from our outfit. And this is not the first time these issues have happened. You know, when Kumsin allegedly fired into the air and accepted responsibility, a police officer who came out to say, yes, the young people who were picked up were carrying firearms, even though Kumsin had come to say the young people who were firing were not carrying firearms. One was expecting that was a sharp contradiction. Kumsin, as we speak, has not been punished. The police officer who came out to speak around the Kaswanyanyano area, it is alleged has been transferred. Mine is that when these things happen, chances are that the officers who are watching and looking on, especially in the midst of COVID, how many police officers would want to be moved from their comfort zone, especially when you don't actually know which school your children are going to be going to school now, or they might be home. And so, yes, we are supposed to be picking intelligence, but the truth is that the intelligence setup in this country largely is inactive, except to say that somehow you still have the defense intelligence setup working. But when you talk about the national security, for me, I have, over the period, spoken and said that the national security seems to be sleeping. And once you have a sleepy national security, chances are that maybe Kaswa, you can go to other platforms in this country. If you ask the national security, how much information have you picked up leading to the general elections, the parliamentary and the presidential elections in December 7th? I will tell you that they would not have any information. But let me also put here that you go to most of these districts and we have BNI officers who are there. Chances are that these people would put up a report, send this report to whoever is supposed to be collating, putting this report together and decoding them, and they sleep on it, or they don't even see the report. And so, Roland, that is where we find ourselves. And so, instead of being proactive, ensuring that hoodlums such as those who would take the laws into their own hands, going into elections or electoral violence are punished, usually just like Dr. Sante did put out and my good friend Sheikh said, these people go scot-free. Nobody punishes them. You can go back to our Wagon white paper and, report and the subsequent white paper. And I say that when these things happen and people seem to have been shielded, then chances are that those who are watching seems to believe that so long as I'm carrying a particular party or a party ID card and I'm known as a party follower, foot soldier, I can perpetuate, some of this violence, and it will nothing will happen. And so I am careful when there is elections and I have to go and vote or I need to go and observe. I try to be alert, or else you could get sorted. Once you are sorted,
Hello, sir, Mr. Bonaa. Oh, we seem to have some difficult hearing, but I think I got a conclusive part of you. Mr. Bonaa, I would say...
I can hear you.
Okay, I'm getting some feedback from your sound, so I would want you to leave the meeting and then rejoin. Maybe the sound will be better. We're getting some feedback. Okay, now, Dr. Sasante, have we learned any lessons at all from what transpired last January? Oh, no, last year, January, I have to say, the Ayawaso was Wagon, or if not February, debacle, so to speak, which led to all the scenes that we saw and the subsequent commission of inquiry and the white paper. Dr. Sasante, to this.
Strictly speaking, Roland, I would say that we have not learned any lesson, not only from Ayawaso, but we've seen electoral violence since time immemorial, before independence, after independence, this fourth republic. We have seen a lot, and we find it difficult to deal with it. But there is a way forward. There's a way forward to this problem. If we look at other jurisdictions, they go by a number of means by which they can address this. One is the issue of preparing code of conduct for political parties pre-election.
But we do have...
So that they sit down, they sign this, and then you hold their leaders to account when anything goes untoward. It's something that has worked for countries such as Cambodia and other countries in the world. Why can't we practice same? Time and again, you hear that people say, oh, we've signed this peace pact and all that. But we are not believers of what we have signed, and that is worrying. We are not honest to ourselves. But it's the issue about election. People have carried it to a certain length that I don't understand. It's about your ability to sell yourself and let people vote for you. That will influence the choice of the voter. When you go there in this type of pusher, in a violent manner, nobody wants to entrust power in the hands of somebody who is violent, because you can't even assess that person. So I want the political actors to take note of this, that if you need power, all that you need is to be able to argue your case out, sell yourself very well, so that at the end of the day, you sound convincing, you'll be able to sway voters into your side and they'll vote for you. But violence is not the way out. It will not give you anything. The best it can give you is that you intimidate the people who want to give power to you, and they will never give power to you, because now is the first stage that you are looking for power and you want to threaten them. When you get power, what will happen? And nobody is interested in that. I believe, and I believe strongly, that we need to be able to step up our game, especially the National Commission for Civic Education. I have not seen effective education about peace in this pre-election phase. We want to see some of these things and done very well. We want not only NCC but other stakeholders to preach peace, and let us be believers of what the message that we preach. That is the only way out, because nobody can make it for us. We as a people, we own our own destiny, and the best we can do is to be able to go to the poll quietly and then peacefully and elect those who want to lead it. I think that is the way forward.
But that's an ideal situation.